Well, this slide should look pretty familiar at this point, right? Now, we talked about all the individual pieces, and now I just kind of wanted to go over at a high level where they all fit in if the overall workflow of a user. So if you look at the flow here, let's start at the top as the user. So I'm coming into the self-service portal, and you can see over port 443 or SSL, I'm communicating down to the VCAC virtual appliance, or that server service. Again, I'm using SSL to bring up the self-service catalog, and that's where I'm doing administration, requesting self-service items, and really that's my main way of interacting with the deployment. You also see the orange arrow going down to the IaaS box. Now, you can also directly hit some of the IaaS components, whether it's for configuration, reaching out to the other endpoints, or also some direct provisioning. So that's really the only other area that a user is going to directly access as far as bringing up an interface. You'll notice that the purple line here, 7444, which is the port for the identity appliance, the user ends up talking to the identity appliance to obtain that token. Remember to check that, and you'll see there we check against Active Directory or Open LDAP with the port numbers there, and that's the job of the identity virtual appliance. But that user doesn't actually see it happening, but when they type their username and password and hit login, that's exactly what's happening. Now, the other piece that talks to the identity appliance is the VCAC server, and you see that also happens on port 7444. It's that darker red line, and that happens when we need to obtain internal service authentication, authorizations, or check identities. Lastly, you'll notice the IaaS components communicate to the VCAC server through 443. And that's for reporting information back up from provisioning or sending instructions down to it. Again, it communicates out to the fabric or compute resources and networking and storage. And it also uses an external SQL Server database over port 1433 to store some of its specific information. So again, the user only interacts with one of these pieces, but I wanted you to understand now that we've talked about each one, and I think you have a better idea of what each piece does. Now you can see where the communication happens.